Okay, let's look at it, boys and girls. LSU, Southern Miss, BC, Clemson, bye week, Va-Tech, Syracuse, Duke, Wake, Pitt, Miami, North. It's, you know what? It looks good. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes just seeing it.
You should be more than ready for that Wake Forest game. I'm just saying. You should be more than ready for that trip to Wake, that trip to Pitt. After what you're doing from September 30th up until you hit the road for the 28th, my God.
Really, from the 24th. I mean, you have a bye week, so you've got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you've got 4 weeks to kind of really get ready for that Wake game. And again, for all we know, Wake might be 3-6 at that point, or hey, who knows, 9-0. But you look at that schedule, and there's really no way that could have been organized where you'd been like, well, that's a disaster. Maybe having Clemson at the September 16th, maybe, or right before Florida, like right where Miami is. But I just think you've got LSU, you've got a few weeks off, you got Clemson, you've got a month off, you've got Miami and Florida there. It seems like it's certainly doable.
The stretch that everybody will fret over, I think, and we'll see what they're going to be. Elko won 8 games at Duke this year. They had the 31st ranked defense in the country. They were the 5th best defense in the ACC. If they take big steps forward and have a good season, and we'll know by the time we play them, that stretch of and it's not brutal. I'm not trying to paint a picture that's irrational, but again, that stretch, Duke followed by throw it back up there real quick.
Duke, Wake, Pitt, Miami.
Yeah, that's the stretch. It's Duke, Wake, Pitt, Miami. If those teams end up being good, as in let's say Miami bounces back big time and they're a 7 or 8 win type team. If Pitt is consistent and plays good defense and they're an 8-win team, Wake is extremely well coached. I know they'll take a step back because they don't have a 40-year-old quarterback terrorizing the league again, but I would think that they'll still be decent. I know they lost a lot, but they're well coached. So that would be the stretch that people would be nervous about. Obviously, LSU and Clemson within the first 4 weeks speaks to itself, but the two in the middle there, Southern Miss and BC, are nothing games.
Yeah, that month of September is just something. You got to be at least 3-1 if you want all. I mean, you can be
3-1 going to the bye week, guys. That's what they got to be.
You could be 2-2 and still have a shot at the ACC title, but I mean,
but the one worry I had, and you can take that off now. We've all memorized it, Ben. The one worry I have about if you do start out 2-2, yes, all your goals are still in front of you as far as winning the ACC, but what's those next 4 weeks going to be like from a fan interest standpoint when it's Virginia Tech, Syracuse, and Duke at home? In the 2 big games that you had in September, you lost them both. Now you can get them back on your side. Like you did this past year. You lost 3 in a row last year and this past year, and you got the fans back on your side. So that can happen. Just win 3 games in September. Win 3 games in September. I don't care lose to Southern Miss. I don't care.
Well,
just win 3 games in September.
Trying to go to the playoff, man. I can't be losing to Southern Miss.
If you beat LSU and Clemson, Southern Miss might be loaded.
Miss, buddy. I actually think I agree with who was it just said in the chat. Yeah, Khalil, I agree with you. Virginia Tech's a name. I know they haven't been good, but you see that helmet. It's an attractive game.
Yeah.
It's an attractive game. But let's not lose sight of the fact that Florida State just won their fans back.
Yeah,
they just won everybody back. It was a lovable bunch, and they re-signed the vast majority of them. They're all coming back to do it again and to actually achieve something of note this time around, meaning a conference championship or a college football playoff berth. Most of the time when you're really good, you can still pretty much sell out that stadium because you're the attraction. You don't need the other team. You just need to be good. And we think Florida State's going to be good.
But I guess I was more the fans too, but also, again, I don't think they're going to be 2-2. But if they were, what happens to the player's psyche when they put all this work in the offseason, everybody comes back, and then you're 2-2, and you're staring down that month of October? Is it what is that mindset? What is the work ethic like for those weeks where you feel like, man, we can't even get to the playoff now? We're 4 weeks into the season and we've been eliminated. The answer to that is don't eliminate yourselves and win them all. But if it happens, that's my one worry about, because I think they'd win most of those games either way. But I guess when I look back, I just wish Clemson was a little later so you could get a little more. If you all lost to LSU, you could get some momentum building again for that game. But you might beat LSU.
Yeah, I will say How you play matters. What do those games look like? I mean, are you in a war with LSU that ball bounces the wrong way and you lose 28-27? You're in a war on the road with a top 10 Clemson team and you lose 31-28, but you've shown yourself to be an elite team that's come up short in a couple of close contests. I don't know that this team would feel sorry for itself. They've got a great culture. Yeah. I think they would. I mean, we just saw them do this, right? They lost 3 straight and they didn't give up on themselves there. I just don't think they will because they returned the vast majority of this team with a bunch of kids that are hungry. Yeah. I think the mindset would be, let's go whoop ass for the rest of the schedule and see if we can't get our revenge in the ACC championship game and let the pieces fall where they may. If they finish the year 10-2 and you win the conference, nobody's going to be that upset, man.
Well, and the exciting part about it too is, what if you do go 4-0 in September?
Oh, well, buddy,
you've got a long runway where you're going to be one of the top 5 teams in the country for a good long. I mean, you start stacking on wins, and all of a sudden you're 8-0, 9-0, and everybody's watching you. And you have a legitimate that game against Miami. People will really be watching the game against Florida. I mean, and then you would have the ACC championship game again. If you win those 2 games in September, you're going to be a top 5 team for the whole season. The whole season, which is a cool place to be, no matter how it ends, how the postseason ends up. If you have a low number by your name for 12 weeks, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, and after the bye, you play Virginia Tech. I'm telling you, they could have 1 win at that point. This place in Tallahassee is going to be bedlam if you're 4-0, because then at that point you're doing a different exercise as a Nole fan. You're coming to celebrate this group every week, almost like in the past tense. You're celebrating them, and then you're doing scoreboard watching and style points watching to see how far you can climb within the structure of the college football playoff. That would be a really fun conversation to have. But it all starts with that LSU game, which we knew before tonight's exercise even started. Right. It's not quite a playoff game because you can lose it and still make your way to the playoff. But, man, it feels like a playoff game right out the damn gate in Orlando.
Yeah. It's and maybe that's the best time to play them. And maybe that's the best time to play Clemson. Yeah. But you have an experienced team with a whole bunch of dudes coming back that have played a lot of football, and they know what it's like to win in September. So maybe it is the best time to play those 2 teams while Clemson's still trying to find its footing with a younger team, and they lost some serious guys off that team.
Wilmer's point about playing Pitt on the road before you play Miami, I can understand there's, if you're going to have concerns about certain matchups in the order of things, that could be a problem. Like if you have a look ahead to Miami, Pitt's good enough to beat you. They usually have good enough players and they're coached well enough to beat you. Slovis is the quarterback. He is what he is. Look, again, if you have conference championship and playoff aspirations, then you're good enough to deal with Pitt and Miami back to back. That shouldn't be that big a deal.